Hi, welcome to Movie Poster Chat with Limelight Movie Art. And I just want to spend a few minutes introducing you to a particular format, a particular size of original movie poster. And what I'm going to show you today is the insert. And I've got a couple behind me here, and I'll just show you a couple of points with reference to these two very nice old comedy inserts. Well, the insert, as its name suggests, was a poster that was inserted into theatre displays from probably the very earliest days of cinema, from the 1910s, 1920s. The insert was a format that was frequently used. And in the days before cineplexes, multiplexes, most cinemas or most theatres in the States just had one screen, so they were only ever playing one film at a time and possibly advertising the films that were to come in successive weeks. So that meant they had more room to devote to different sizes, different styles, different formats of advertising for the same poster. And this particular size, the insert, is sometimes called an insert card, was around probably until the 80s. We've seen some examples into the 80s, but it pretty much had died out by the late 70s. But for a film from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you can usually find an insert. I say usually because although it was a common format, it's one of the harder sizes to find, and that may be because it was still less popular than the regular one sheet, which was the main style used by most advertising cinemas. And maybe also because actually it's a very popular size with collectors and people who are just wanting to display a nice piece of original movie art on their walls. And that's from a size perspective. Size-wise, I think this is what's interesting about these, that across they're 14 inches. Film posters were always measured in imperial, but for those working metric, that's 36 centimetres, so 14 inches, 36 centimetres across, and with a height of 36 inches or 92 centimetres in metric, so 36 inches by 92. So literally, not literally, but almost a half the size of the regular one sheet poster. And you can see I put the two inserts together here, they almost amount to the same sort of size as a one sheet. So if you're limited for space, or if you don't want something that's going to dominate too much, or frankly if you'd like to have pieces from two titles rather than one in a particular space, the insert is a nice size to have, and I think that's why it's another reason why they're harder to come by, because once somebody has one, they tend to hold on to them. So really that's, I think, what you need to know. I just add that the insert was on a harder card stock. So the one sheets and the quads, the bigger posters that we've seen elsewhere, came on a paper, just a light paper that was typically folded. The insert, you can probably see, is a slightly harder cardstock. So sometimes they display more easily as they are, and it means that usually they were sent round theatres rolled rather than folded. Not always by a long way, and you will still find a lot of original inserts that were folded when they were sent out. This is one that was rolled, but you can see there that it's a fairly sturdy piece. And you've got the same information as you'd have on a regular poster, the copyright details down here, the NSS, the distribution organisation's number here or here, right down at the bottom. And then of course you've got star, you've got title, you've got credits, and usually artwork that's similar to the artwork used in the one sheet, in the main advertising poster, but not necessarily the same. And this is just quite an interesting one for Chaplin. In 1947, he was coming up with Monsieur Verdoux, which was really the first time he'd appeared in anything where he didn't either play the little tramp character or even look like the tramp, as he did in one of his parts in The Great Dictator. And the one sheet and the British quad, they both used the new Chaplin persona, Verdoux, the title character that he was playing, and they told the audience you were getting a new hat, new coat, new pants, new shoes, but the same Chaplin. So he was clearly wanting people to know that this was going to be different. What's nice about the insert is he's also got a little Little Tramp character. And this is Chaplin from The Gold Rush, probably the most famous, most recognisable of his films and images. For what it's worth, it was the last Chaplin film that people would have seen in the theatres, in the cinemas, before Verdoux was released, because in 1942, so 5 years before Verdoux came out, Chaplin re-released The Gold Rush, adding music and sound. So this was a very familiar cinema image for audiences at the time. And although, as I say, he clearly wanted to tell people this is different, this is not The Little Tramp, equally he didn't want to let go of the audience and wanted to remind people who he was, so you got The Little Tramp there. So that's just a nice piece that comes out of that particular insert. But there we are, insert card, 14 inches by 36, a lovely size for display and a very popular format.